Good morning again, everybody. Welcome. I felt like a school teacher then. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we are judging the 2019 AIPP Queensland Epson Professional Photography Awards documentary category, sponsored by Sony. So thanks to Sony for that one. My name is Sarah McKenna and I'll be your panel chair for this session. Faru Yavari is our scribe, and thank you for our crew of print handlers. I believe we still have out the back Meredith, Renee, Afshin and Ralph. Oh, Ralph's poking around the side. Hi. Okay, we're all good to go. Category preamble on its way. This one's a bit of a long one. Okay. Hey, no, turn it back. Okay. This category is for documentary, press and birth photography. Judges in this category are asked to consider content, composition, impact and narrative quality. Images should depict some aspect of the human condition. All images have been observed but not fabricated or directed in any way by the photographer. Entrants may provide a caption to assist the judges in assessing the image properly. Entries may be commissioned or self-commissioned. Photographs must be the result of a single exposure of light to either film or digital sensor. Focus stacking, HDR, panoramic stitching and multiple exposure techniques are prohibited. Polytics, diptychs, triptychs, etc. are permitted. The entrant must ensure there is no attempt to misrepresent reality by manipulating the image's content, context or meaning through image editing or post-production. Post-production is limited to minor adjustments such as spotting dust and scratches, dodging and burning, and adjusting tonal and colour values. Elements or areas within the image cannot be removed or covered up, nor may new elements be added. Cropping the image is permitted, as is conversion to black and white. The Awards Committee reserves the right, after assessment of the original capture files provided, to disqualify images where post-processing is deemed to have exceeded acceptable photojournalistic practices. For the instance of birth photography, written consent must be obtained from each medical facility, such as hospital or birth centre, and medical support personnel where they are easily identifiable in an image. Means of identification include both written content such as signs, name tags, medical records and equipment, and visual content such as person's face and physical appearance. Wedding photographs are eligible as long as they are truly found and not created. So everyone's happy with that? At the back, we're all ready to go? Okay, that was the world's longest pregnant pause. And can we have our first print, please? My apologies. 3 Kate Hunter finds a mate and her baby amidst the fog. It was just too much. Hundreds of thousands of livestock were lost in the North Queensland flood disaster of February 2019. Does that change anyone's scores that they've already put in? No, you're happy where you sit? Reading again, 3 Kate Hunter finds a mate and her baby amidst the fog. It was just too much. Hundreds of thousands of livestock were lost in the North Queensland flood disaster, February 2019. By majority, this print scores 79. Kelly, can you speak to this print, please?
Yeah, I got the message smack bang in my face, which is great. I think that the moment wasn't quite there. It felt like it was just before or just after with the human element. So yeah, that's why I scored at 78.
Thank you, Kelly. Next print, please. First, second, none. Prize-winning ducks are left locked in small cages following judging at the Royal Queensland Show. This print scores 75. Leslie, can we have a word from you, please?
Yes, I think the image that's presented to us is actually quite unresolved with the caption. I'm finding it difficult to, see the actual story there.
Thank you, Leslie. Great feedback about captions. Next print, please. None provided. This print scores 75. I'd like a comment, please, from Jacinta.
Yeah, I was just trying to find more of a story here. I mean, the story that I got from it is usually we'd see women sort of washing clothes and outside, something like that. But another element sort of to take it to the next level, I think, is what would be needed, and maybe even a caption would help.
Thanks, Jacinta. Adam, normally I'd only take one comment, but you're waving your hand rather enthusiastically.
Just really quickly, I see the story here that I'm assuming they're power lines that they're hanging clothes on, which is obviously a fairly dangerous thing. Where I lose, what stops me from bringing this up is just the contrast and the print quality here just isn't quite there. What I want to see is a bit muddy and it's a bit confused through the middle of the frame. So I work on just really isolating those elements.
Thanks, Adam. Next print, please. Plotting mischief. This print has scored 73. Comment from Kelly, please.
Yeah, again, I don't feel that this is quite the decisive moment. I think it's also a bit lackluster in the print. It's a little bit flat. Beautiful light coming through. It just needs finessing in a few of those things to get it into silver.
Thanks, Kelly. A few nods from your fellow judges there in agreement with your comments. May we have our next print, please? Father and daughter at marketplace in a small town located in northeast of Iran. This print has scored 72. Adam, can you comment, please?
Yeah, look, the portrait's nice and sharp, so it draws us in, but there's a flatness to the print that really, it sort of just doesn't lead us anywhere into the frame, and I'm just not rewarded by the expressions. It doesn't support that storyline that I'm hearing.
Thank you, Adam. Next print, please. The Ganges River draws pilgrims from all over India into immersive worship. Thank you, judges. This print has scored 82, silver award. Jacinta, you're right on 82. Can you give a comment to the print, please?
I was contemplating maybe it was a little bit too vibrant, but then again, I'm thinking, no, it's not, because it adds to the feel of it, of worship with the candles and the lighting. I don't think I'd really change anything about the print, and it's well in the silver range. Well done.
Thanks, Jacinta. And we'll have our next print, please. Pomegranate man in Friday market in a small town in northeast of Iran. This print has scored 76. A comment, please, from Tony.
I scored this in professional practice. It's a nice capture. I want more of a story. The title doesn't really tells a little bit, but I want more of a story when I get up and look at it. Just the highlights on the man's collar, I think, need to be toned down a little bit.
Thank you, Tony. Next print, please. One last sneak. He is no longer allowed to climb the fridge. He used to every day. It was a sweet little quirk. This capture was taken on a hot day after a long swim when he was seeking sustenance, captured by an iPhone 6 family documentary. Thank you, judges. This print scores 75 with a challenge from Leslie on 81. Leslie, you have a 78, a 76, a 71 and a 68.
This capture is very natural and it's very real, and as a parent we all resonate with this. The uniqueness of it is the thing which is captivating me. The body language of the little kid is very real. You can see what's going through his mind. What can I find? What can I find? And all of the stuff around the outside that's actually in the fridge has been sufficiently muted down, even if it does appear to be quite muddy to us. That in itself is just drawing us into that highlight area in the middle, which is reflecting up on the little kid's face. I think this has been a very good capture in social documentary of a very real moment. The body language, the muted tones, the nighttime radar, the story is very strong. And in documentary, I think this is to be rewarded.
Thank you, Leslie. Adam, you're on 68. Can we hear from you, please?
I do hear what you're saying, yeah, and it was all what we see is reflected and probably embellished in the caption a little bit. I still want to look at the fundamentals of how the light's being used, and is it well handled? I think it's blown out. There's not detail in what I want to see, and maybe that's not quite as important as the moment. But I don't get anything. Even if I ignore that lighting, still what I'm looking at is a literal representation of what's going on. So at most, it puts me up into a professionally captured image. I'm not sure how it gets up into an award range yet, but I'm still listening.
Leslie, if I can go back to you for your right of reply, please.
In documentary category, there are very strict rules about your post-production and your control of highlights and things like that. So we don't have those sorts of tools at our availability. I feel that if we didn't have that bright highlight there behind the boy, he would be lost. And when you open up the door of the fridge at night, that's exactly, what you see. So I think that bright highlight, if that wasn't there, you wouldn't see the shape of the boy. And the fact that he's got his arm up on the top of the fridge and, the other arm going in and the light sort of reflecting up on his face. I don't think you need to see his face. The body language is saying it all, and the capture is telling the story. So I would like to reward the photographer for a very unique social documentary comment on family life today.
Thank you, Leslie. Your score stays at 81. Could all other judges rescore now, please? And this print now scores 76. Thank you for the discussion, judges, and we'll have our next print, please. Shattered Dreams. Thank you, judges. This print scores 78. If I can have a comment, please, from Tony. Sorry, Tony. Tony.
Thank you. Look, it's. I want to see a little bit more. This is it's a good professional capture. The little girl crying. The hand I'm guessing or assuming it's the parent. I don't know whether that distracts away from me. To me, it does, because I want to see more of that. That obviously the cake. It's a good capture.
Thank you, Tony. And we're just going to do a quick judges change if we can. We'll be keeping you moving around a fair bit this category. Leslie, thank you very much. And Claire, if we can get you to come on, please. And we'll have our next print, please. During a visit to Melbourne, a young boy stands to attention, dreaming of life as a superhero. This print scores 79. If I can get a comment, please, from Kelly.
Yeah, again, not quite the right moment for me. It feels like I wanted this kid to be a bit more engaged in what he wanted to be, and it almost looks a bit too sort of contrived. I mean, it's shot pretty well considering the lighting conditions and that sort of thing, but it's just the timing for me is just a little bit off.
Thanks, Kelly. And we'll have our next print, please. Kaboot-tabazi, or pigeon racing, is a popular and distinctive sport on the roofs of Old Delhi. The winner's flock must fly the farthest against the wind, with no more than 5 birds failing to return to the correct rooftop. Thank you, judges. This print has scored 82, a silver award. With a challenge from Adam. Adam's on 87. Adam, you have 2 83s, a 78 and a 77.
I don't know that there's a lot of innovation in documentary photography is one of the key things. I think I've never seen pigeon racing presented from such a distance. You know, the distance is what is, and the scale of what we're being presented. And there's nothing literal being presented in this frame as a pigeon. They're the blurs, but you know exactly what they are, and you could get a sense of the scale and the sort of speed, but also the danger that's told in the caption, because that's reflected in the built environment down below. It looks sort of old and dirty and dangerous, and even the little sort of towers of communication like along the left, the scattered along there. I think palette-wise, it is. There's a beautiful colour palette that's reflected right through the sky down through things. So technically, I think it's been well presented, and certainly the challenge of getting that those birds, represented, and so we know what they are, but they're just subtly there. I think it's really, really cleverly handled, and I encourage you to take another look and think about a silver distinction.
Thank you, Adam. Claire, you're on 77.
Yeah, I can hear what you're saying, and when the caption was spoken, I can't see pigeons there at all. I'm just struggling with the pigeon racing thing. I can imagine that they're extremely fast, and I'm looking at the little tiny people on the building, and I can't see any excitement or expression. So I suppose I can, the buildings down the bottom look just really beautiful, but the rest of it, I'm just struggling to find a connection with the pigeons and the people.
Thanks, Claire. Tony, you're on 83.
I think it's a unique way of presenting, as the caption says, this image. Adam, I'm hearing you, and perhaps with your summation, I might come up. I think it's a good solid silver, but I'll listen to your argument.
Thank you, Tony. Back to you, Adam, for your right of reply.
Yeah, look, I guess the connection is inherent in what they talk about in the caption about the pigeon racing. It's kind of letting these things go out in the environment, and that's it. That's the end of the control. It's letting them just go out into the nothingness, and that's what they're doing. And it's not a literal representation. We get something that also shows the speed and the movement, and actually in a very otherwise still, what looks like a still environment. And I think it's just such a unique way of presenting that, to not sort of want to go in and show every detail, but instead take that step right back and show the overall picture of how this, how this sport or how this, thing. I think it's very, very unique viewpoint, and I think worth rewarding.
Thank you, Adam. Your score stays on 87. Could all other judges rescore now, please? And by a majority, we have a silver with distinction on 85. Great teamwork, lovely discussion. Thank you, judges. And can we have our next print, please? A little boy sits in the doorway of his home, a hole in the wall along the banks of the Yamuna River, Delhi. His belongings scattered outside due to the lack of space, the sad reality of the overpopulation in India. Delhi, India, 2019. Thank you, judges. This print scores 81, silver award. Adam, you're bang on 81, please.
Look, there's a wonderful palette and a placement of objects within the scene that leads us right through the frame. I think what stopped me from actually going a little higher was the tightness of that crop on the bottom left-hand side. I either don't want to see less information or more sort of context, and that may be what could lift it up. But well seen, well presented. So good, well done.
Thanks, Adam. And we'll do a quick judges change. And Tony, thank you very much for your time so far this morning. And I didn't check with you, but I know you're there somewhere. Adam Finch, can you jump on, please? I'm going to put Adam and Adam next to each other. So again, I can feel that confusion of which Adam I'm looking at. That was not for live stream audiences. Thank you. Okay, and we'll have our next print, please. Sorry, Adam, I know you just touched down. Next print, please. Photo taken in the rally of Brisbane Against Hate, 23rd of the 3rd, 2019, as a form of support for the victims of the terrorist acts against a mosque in New Zealand on March 15, 2019. The theme is Muslim Life Matters Youth, and non-Muslim people are showing their support. This print scores 73. I'll get a comment, please. Jacinta, you're right on 73. Thank you.
I think just missed opportunity here. We're hearing the caption, but I'm not really seeing that in the image, like the sign in the background. It's just compositionally and really bright light on the actual top rather than the face. Really heavy vignetting. Yep, a few things.
Thanks, Jacinta. And we'll have our next print, please, with no caption. And we are judging the 2019 AIPP Queensland Epson Professional Photography Awards documentary category, sponsored by our friends at Sony. Thank you, Sony, and thank you, Epson, for the entire weekend. Okay, this print has scored 78. For a comment, can I go please to Kelly? Oh, sorry, no, to Claire.
Yeah, when you come in close and look at the print, there's two little people in the back, and they're hiding behind some things that are hanging on the line, and I just feel like I'd love to see that, and just the footpath, if that could be nice and straight, that would be perfect.
Thank you, Claire. Next print, please. Camel sneaking up on his handler, enjoying a rest in the Sahara. The caption again is camel sneaking up on his handler, enjoying a rest in the Sahara. This print has scored 79. A comment, please, from Adam Finch.
Yeah, really well done by the photographer. Really beautiful colour sort of palette. I probably sort of found the placement of the handler to be sort of a little bit neither here nor there, and the footprints in the bottom right, potentially with a slightly different camera angle, they might have been sort of taken out, and it would just given it a bit more of a pristine environment for the two subjects to sit within.
Thank you, Adam. Next print, please. 1. This lone cow is the epitome of the hopeless quest for survival and ultimately death for over 650,000 cattle, battered by the relentless rain and gale force winds of the northwest Queensland flood disaster of February 2019. This print scores 80, a silver award. Thank you, everyone. Jacinta, may I have a comment from you, please?
Yeah, the one thing that was just, I was on 78, so I was really close. I love the image. The only thing that was holding me back was the actual cow itself and the caption. Like, I'm looking at it going, is it alive? Is it not alive? So just a little bit of confusion for me personally.
Thank you, and we'll have our next print, please. Game Arcade, Shinjuku 2018. Thank you, judges. This print scores 77 with a very fast challenge from Adam Finch on 83. Adam, you have a 77, 76, 75, 74.
Yeah, it's cool. I just really enjoying the communication and the elements of sort of culture in this image. We've got the little gaggle of people sort of all standing around watching one guy who's actually sitting cross-legged on the chair, which I just sort of enjoyed that kind of little, seeing that sort of enough. The face mask down, the guy in the background that's not as interested, and I did enjoy that his gaze was not as fixed as the other sort of, we'll call them gamers for lack of a better term, but really it was the captivation, like that's the subject of the image, but then as an afterthought is not the word that I want to use, but this crying man in the foreground, fractionally out of focus, as kind of a consequence of loss. He's got no friends around him. He's by himself. He's not important, being out of focus. And I'm really enjoying, and I mean, we haven't even been given all of him. And I think that kind of disconnection compared to the other sort of features put me into the silver category. It's a nice piece of communication.
Jacinta, you're on 74.
I can hear what you're saying, Adam, but what you're enjoying, I'm probably not enjoying. To me, that is more of an interesting subject there, and I wanted to see more rather than the actual gamers on the other side. Plus, I'm struggling a little bit with the saturation. I understand that could be from the actual gaming itself, but I do think it could have been toned down a little bit as it is really distracting my eyes going straight to that arm on the left. So those small things brought me down.
Thanks, Jacinta. If I can get back to Adam.
I gathered I was not going to get any other support. That's okay. I actually love the saturation because those gaming parlours are an assault on the senses, and I don't see that as being sort of too much distraction. I think it's a level of reality in the image, as is the yin and yang between enjoyment and sorrow that's featured in this image. I'm on silver at 83. Please reconsider and join me there.
Thank you, Adam. Your score is locked in at 83, and all other judges rescore now, please. And by a majority, 80, a silver award. Very compelling points. Thank you, judges. Next print, please. On the boundary of a local southeast Queensland suburban block sits an overlooked, neglected mailbox on an overgrown footpath. A local church group has folded and secured under the lid. A telling invitation, now bleached and weathered by time. I will. On the boundary of local southeast Queensland suburban block sits an overlooked, neglected mailbox on an overgrown footpath. A local church group, I think it's meant to say leaflet, has folded and secured under the lid. A telling invitation, now bleached and weathered with time. This is scored 72. I'm just going to check. So a comment from Adam? Yep, sure.
I really like the idea and the ability for the photographer to find this sort of subject, but just the presentation, the really super heavy vignette, is not helping us kind of with the communication.
Can I just get a blank screen for a moment, please? Sorry, team, just waiting on a moment. Okay, thank you for your patience, everyone, and we'll have our next print, please. The next one after that, please. Our next print. Festival of Chariots, Brisbane, 11 May 2019. Hare Krishna celebration going to the street of Brisbane, giving joy and happiness to the people in Brisbane. This print scores 69. Jacinta, Adam had his hand out. I might take a comment from Adam. Yep.
Yeah, I guess mentioning the people of Brisbane in the caption, I kind of wanted to see more of the environment that the people were in, and just working on the lighting, trying to bring down those highlights and even out the shadows a little bit would be a great improvement to the image.
Thank you, Adam. Next print, please. 2. Danny Mara lends a helping hand, attaching the helicopter sling to an airlift surviving heifers out of dead pile to dry land, feed and medication. The flood disaster of February 2019 killed thousands of livestock on the Curly properties alone at Cloncurry, northwest Queensland. Thank you, judges. This print scores 76 with a challenge from Jacinta on 82. Jacinta, you have a 78, a 76 and two 72s.
Yeah, I think this photographer's really caught a great moment here. It has, to me, it's reality. We've got that one cow in the background, which obviously is going to be the cow that's going to be airlifted to safety from drought. Great storytelling. I know we've got some highlights that we're dealing with here and a little bit of shadow on the face, but it's a moment caught in time, and I think the photographer's done a great job in capturing reality. I think it sits well in the silver range.
Adam, you're on 72.
I think there's the capture of reality is handled. It's not quite, the print's not quite as crisp in the areas like in the face as I want it to be. And even the placement of that face in amongst all the trees, like I'm not seeing into that image as much as I'd like to be. And I'm a little torn with the composition of how much of the cows I want to see and how much of the helicopter of that sort of part of the story I want to see. I feel like the crop's a bit halfway in between. It is a representation of reality, but I think it's just a professional capture of that. I'm not quite sure I can elevate it into silver.
Jacinta, can I go back to you for your right of reply, please?
Yep, I can see where you're coming from. We could have had the actual farmer on the other side, which there would be no trees in the background, therefore it would be a completely different story we're talking about and cropping it. But to me, I think it sits fine where it is. The moment in time that we are at the moment in Queensland and drought, it's great storytelling. To me, I'd love it if we could bring it up into a silver.
Thanks, Jacinta. Your score stays at 82. If all other judges could rescore now, please. This print now scores 77. And we'll have a quick judges change. Jacinta, a complete coincidence. I'll get you to have a little bit of a spell. Thank you for your time. And Roxanne, can I have you on, please? And we'll have our next print, please. Oh my God, she's alive. A new mum can't contain her excitement at the safe arrival of her baby girl after previously delivering a stillborn son, remembering forever through a tattoo on her wrist. This print scores 77, with a comment from Adam Harrigan. Right on 77.
Look, a well captured, photographed moment. What lets me down here is the print quality, the contrast that's in some part of the frame where there's. I don't mind the loss of detail in the black if I can reconcile it with the sort of spot light. It's highlighting on various areas, and it's not just in the face where it feels like it's a little thing. It's down towards the bottom of the legs and all around here, and it's just there's detail where I don't want it to be, and yeah, it's just not sitting in a good sort of tonal range, I think, that draws me into that expression, which is the strength of the frame.
Thank you, Adam. And we'll do another quick judges change. Thank you, Claire, for your time on the panel this morning. And Francis, if you can come in for me, please. And we'll have our next print, please. Moroccan monkey enjoying a treat. This print scores 73. I'll get a comment from Francis, please.
Yes, look, it's a nice capture. It's a nice a moment. Just enjoying the treat. I can't really see what exactly the monkey's enjoying. I'd just like a little bit more information about that. Also, probably the highlights need to come down a little bit. And there's a bit of a spot in his left eye as well. That could be fixed.
Thank you, Francis. And can we have our next print, please? Photo taken in the Rally of Brisbane Against Hate, 23rd of the 3rd, 2019, as a form of support for the victims of the terrorist attacks against a mosque in New Zealand on March 15, 2019. The theme is Muslim Life Matters. Hundreds of people were mobilised against the hate. This print scores 74. Roxanne, can you have a word, please?
Yeah, for sure. Initially, just from a cropping perspective, the thing that took my eye initially was the flag or the banner across the top, and unfortunately that took my attention before looking at anything. Post then looking to find a standout or a strong visual element that was going to tell me a story, I was looking and looking and looking and couldn't find that standout thing that was giving me what was the hero message in here.
Thanks, Roxanne. And we'll have our next print, please. Nudie Run. And we are judging the 2019 AIPP Queensland Epson Professional Photography Awards documentary category, sponsored by Sony. And don't forget, there are still dinner tickets available, only a couple, I believe, so get in quick. And we'd love to see you all at the gala dinner to celebrate all of our photography prowess on Monday night. This print scores 80, Silver Award. Who would like to comment? Kelly was pretty quick.
I'd love to have seen this with just a little bit more tonal range, a little bit more pop in those blacks and whites. There's not many elements to work with there, but I love the caption, and yeah, we do nudie runs in our house too, so props for that. Not just my son. Okay, good print.
Thanks, Kelly. Can I do a judges change again, please? Adam Hurigan, if I can get you to come off for a minute, and we'll just pop Jacinta in there, please. Okay, we'll have our next print, please. On the night of Holika Dahan in Sayadu, or Holy Man, who was renounced. Sorry, I'm going to start that one again. On the night of Holika Dahan in Sayadu, or Holy Man who was renounced worldly wealth, acts in unpredictable ways in front of one of the many cow dung bonfires in the streets of Manthura. On the night of Holika Dahan in Sadhu, or Holy Man who has renounced worldly wealth, acts in unpredictable ways in front of one of the many cow dung bonfires in the streets of Mathura. This print scores 77. A comment, please, from Francis.
Yes, look, for me, the story doesn't quite pull together. The character on the left in the foreground has got a really interesting expression, and I can see there's a lot going on. I then wander into the background, and there's a lovely scene there with the push bike with the rich guy and the guy. I'm not sure what he's picking up from the floor. The story there doesn't hold up for me. I'm not quite sure where to go with that.
Thank you, Francis. And we'll have our next print, please. No caption. Thank you, judges. This print has scored 75 with a challenge from Kelly. Kelly is on 83. You have a 76, 73, 71 and a 70.
Well done to the photographer for just giving me just a great sense of space and atmosphere in this environment. I do enjoy these images where you can just go in and circle around and get into all the characters and the people and just look at all of the human elements in this and how each of them are in this environment in very different ways. We've got a guy taking a bloody selfie up in the right-hand corner, and then we've got this guy sort of just a little bit off centre towards the right, just praying and being very tranquil and very peaceful. And then off to the left we have, you know, maybe sort of teenage adult playing around and mucking around like it's, you know, their local swimming pool. That's really intriguing, and the more I keep looking at it, I can just see so much, sense of space and what it means to so many different people. I think that's really interesting in this documentary category. Going for a silver, guys.
Thanks, Kelly. Adam, you're on 70.
I am indeed. I wanted to explore the image like Kelly does, but I just sort of get very stuck in the centre with the centre figure and the quite bright steps, and in particular her skin tone and the general centre of the being so bright. And I'm not able to explore the image as much as I'd like to. I think if this was printed darker, if the colour was represented better, and maybe there was a little bit more sort of shape to the light here and there on, just to sort of bring out those different people and their different activities and the different sort of ways of living around this watercourse, I think that would be great, but I just don't see it in this image in front of me.
Roxanne?
Catching my eye that I wanted to address that. I love these kind of images where there are multiple stories and was so excited to be able to step up and investigate all of them. The thing that really held me to keep to score it where it was is that they're all soft. It's not that I was looking for a sharpness across any single figure, and maybe there was one there, but there was no sharpness that drew me to a figure that was telling a particular story, so I didn't see that strength in the image there, technically.
Thank you, Roxanne. Kelly, I'll go back to you for your right of reply, please.
Okay. Yep. I can agree with some of those things, not all of those things, but I think, perhaps where the photographer has come from a boat passing by, and in terms of just showing a documentary piece and that decisive moment, maybe it's just waiting for, and they've just, I think, waited for that right time where all these people are, as I said, doing so many different things. The guy that's praying and the most tranquil and in that scene is the sharpest. Yes, I know perhaps I might be fighting an uphill battle for a silver, but I think I just, like I said, I enjoyed just the people and in their own sort of habitat, and just their interpretation of a very different scene. So that's why I wanted to reward it for silver.
Thank you, Kelly. Your score will remain on 83. If all other judges could please rescore now. The print has risen to 77. So you never know. Every point counts, right? Okay. I am going to do a quick judges change. I tend to do this right when it looks like it's completely coincidental. Sorry, Kelly. Thank you. And we'll welcome Leslie to our panel. And we'll have our next print, please. A cheeky monkey perches on the roof of a local merchant's home, displaying his dominance as if to say, "This is my house." Delhi, India, 2019. This print scores 80, silver award. I'd love a comment from you, Adam. That'd be wonderful.
This is I very much enjoyed this image. I was on 84. I love the shadowy figure, the light that's sort of coming through that doorway. I think what I'm not going to say it kept me back or anything, but I felt the caption didn't help me generate a really great narrative out of this image. It probably sort of told me something that was kind of obvious, where I wanted a little bit more. Maybe a bit more of an ambiguous caption sometimes can help people get their own story out of an image.
Lots of nods from your fellow judges there. Excellent. Thank you, Adam. And we'll have our next print, please. 4. This gypsy plain stud Brahman cow was just one of hundreds of thousands of livestock which had to be either buried or burned in the aftermath of the Northwest Queensland flood disaster of February 2019. And we are judging the 2019 AIPP Queensland Epson Professional Photography Awards documentary category, sponsored by our friends at Sony. This print has scored 77. I'd like a comment, if I can, please, from Jacinta. Oh, Francis, you were keen there? Yeah, for sure.
I think that's it's quite a strong scene, and I think every element in that image would be very, very important to bring the message across. So the foreground is a little bit out of focus, but I think for this animal going back to nature, back to earth, it would be really important for me to have that in focus. The fire, the background, the rock, everything, every element actually in this image would need to stand much stronger than it actually is presented there, and it would be a very strong image, I think.
Thank you, Francis. And I will do another quick judge change if I can. Roxanne, thank you very much for your time, and I'll bring Tony on. We're all thinking on our feet. Welcome back, and we'll have our next print, please. Oyster Farmer, Vietnam. Thank you, judges. This print scores 78. Tony, welcome. You can jump straight on the microphone for me, please.
Thank you. Good professional capture. Just watch the highlights in the cloud area. I wanted to go up there and see a little bit more element into it. It's nice. It's a good doco image. Just give me a little bit more.
Thank you, Tony. And we'll have our next print, please. No caption. This print scores 76. Leslie, you're right on 76. Can you comment to the print, please?
This is a well-seen image. Looks like it's possibly in India. The photographer is walked past, seen the colour of the man's clothing, matching the door behind, framed by the pillars. But so for that reason, I'm putting this in solid professional practice. So for this to make a statement about a story, I do think that there needs to be a further narrative to take it higher.
Thank you, Leslie. Next print, please. An elderly woman, unexpected of visitors, rests peacefully on the steps of her lifelong home in the old city of Jodhpur, an area that is now becoming less populated as the younger generation move on. Jodhpur, India, 2019. Thank you, judges. This print scores 79. A comment, please, from Francis.
Beautiful crafted portrait. Love the environment. The lady sits in front of her house. It's very peaceful. Just to take it just to combine it with the capture that you just read out to us, I don't get that feel of the loneliness she is. That people move out of Jodhpur. I'd just like to see a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Francis. And we'll do another quick judge change, please. I'm going to swap Adam for Adam, please. Thank you, Adam Finch. And we'll bring Adam Hourigan back onto the panel. And you're right if I announce the next print before you sit down? Yep, next print, please. Sister Mary irons her sister's veil on her big day. Thank you, judges. This print scores 74. May I have a comment, please? Jacinta, I haven't asked you to speak for a while. I'd love to hear your voice.
Even though we've got sharpness here, I'm still finding the image is quite flat. Like with the lighting, there's no direct light, no direct view for our eye to go to. Even though we want to go right to the centre of the sister, we're not. And that head in the background of obviously another subject, just missed opportunity and mispositioning of taking the image.
Thank you, Jacinta. Now I'm going to keep you all on your toes again. Francis, thank you very much for your time this morning. I need to bring Kelly back on from ACT. And we'll have our next print, please. A C-130 Hercules firebomber circles its drop zone against a backdrop of smoke during the Bunyip State Park bushfire. The fire started by a lightning strike, destroyed 29 homes and burned over 14,500 hectares. 2nd of March, 2019. This print scores 77. Kelly, you're right on that. Can you comment, please?
I think I was looking for a bit more context, like if it's a firebomb, maybe water coming out or something. The colours are really quite lovely, but I just think it needed a couple of more elements for me to get it up.
Thank you, Kelly. Next print, please. Another tourist. A family gather outside their family home in the late afternoon, amused by the wandering tourists whose predictable reactions provide them with a daily entertainment. Jaipur, India, 2019. So the caption again is another tourist. A family gather outside their family home in the late afternoon, amused by the wandering tourists whose predictable reactions provide them with a daily entertainment. Jaipur, India, 2019. This print has scored 82, Silver Award. Challenged by Adam Hurigan. Adam is on 87. You have an 84, two 82s, and a 74.
I think there's a wonderful commentary here about the sort of, the cliche of travel photography going on here that we see. Oftentimes, we've got the family out here who are sort of being pushed out the front of the house, and they're the token representation, and they're all a bit bemused by it. There's great expressions right across the line there, from hilarity to doing what they're told to boredom on the right. We're just doing, this is the cliche in the front. It's been framed so well because there in the background is the cliche. And it's sort of, it's just this little tiny part. That's the sort of cliche that comes across, and that lone figure sort of wrapped up with the forlorn expression, and it's kind of I think there's a wonderful commentary going on here about in the layers of the image about turning this cliche of travel and documentary sort of images on its head. And I think palette-wise, well presented, well framed, well printed with every detail we want to see. I think it's worth looking into and rewarding further.
Thank you, Adam. Leslie, you're on 74.
Yes, I'm listening to what you're saying. Thinking back to the caption, we were told that the family gathers here every afternoon to watch the parade of tourists. In this case, I'm looking at almost a semi-staged situation, because it looks to me like the photographer has seen the people out there, tried to motion to them to go and stand there or whatever, and then the photographer has clowned around a bit and then got a reaction. So that's the interpretation that I'm getting, and so I'm not so sure whether this is a truly captured moment.
Leslie, we can't assume that. We just have to take the print as it is in front of us.
Okay, I'll take that on board. The figures on the right I also find superfluous to the overall impact of what is happening with the expressions with the rest of the family. So that's where I put it into a professional practice, not in the award range.
Thank you, Leslie. Kelly, you're on 84.
Yeah, I'm sorry I gave it 84. I definitely am going up with you, Adam. The kicker for me is just the two children. It's just of that age, and this is probably something they do day in, day out, and maybe for money, for all sorts of things. We don't know, but it's just their expression on their face is just, all right, we'll go out and do this again. And they are so disengaged. And the lady who's cracking up is, probably the one that tried to get them out there again. But again, like going through the gate, and we're moving through layers upon layers upon layers with beautiful colours that all have a really great harmonious sort of feel to it as well. And that lone figure right in the background, he's probably been sitting there all afternoon. Like, I think it's great. It's definitely a silver distinction for me. I'm going up.
Thank you, Kelly. Adam, your right of reply.
Yes, I think the caption explains, Leslie, what's going on. And I think, as well as the sort of validation of the image here, we don't want to assume, what's going on. It explains the situation, and it's a very believable situation. And, who's watching the watchers? We're always the ones watching these people, but they're watching us back. And it's not just having that comment there, but it's then that extra layer of then providing us with the context of what's being sort of mimicked in the front. The two people on the men on the right, I think, are still at another level of expression, because we've sort of got obedience, hilarity, and then kind of ambivalence. They're all sort of there for a specific reason. I genuinely think we've heard a lot of good comments here, then we can get it up to silver distinction.
Thank you, Adam. Your score remains on 87. If all other judges could rescore now, please. Well done. This print is a silver distinction with 86. And we'll have our next print, please. A new dad makes a joke for his wife by placing her placenta on a plate ready for her to eat. Thank you, judges. This print scores 75. Comment from Adam, please.
In such a stark image, I think the technical aspects have to be right on. And that fork is quite soft going backwards. Then it really pulls me away from what's an interesting story that could be going on here. So really watch that technical aspect of it.
Thank you, Adam. We'll do a judge change. Sorry, I didn't have that ready in my head then. Actually, no, we'll just keep going. Sorry. If we can have our next print, please. No caption. This print has scored 77. A comment, please, from Jacinta.
Yeah, just really tight crop, especially on the left-hand side. I think we need a little bit more space. A caption would have been really good, as it kind of looks like we've got tourists here doing something, and the woman in the background is obviously who's taking them to their destination. Also, just her hat that she's wearing, it kind of looks like it's her neck, but it's her hat, so just a little bit of dodging and burning there, so we've got separation from her neckline to what she's wearing.
Thanks, Jacinta. And I will do that quick judge change now. Leslie, thank you very much. And Francis, if you can come on board for us, please. And when you're ready, if we can have our next print, please. Tourists enjoying Seljan and Foss waterfall in winter. My apologies for the place name. Thank you, judges. This print scores 74. A comment, please, from Adam with your hand up there.
Yeah, there's a very strong contrast here that it could be suited to the subject matter, but again, I look at the people and are they enjoying it? Are they walking to it? There's no real storyline. It doesn't match what I'm hearing in the caption. I want more. If it's about the landscape, it's about the landscape, or if it's about the people, it's about the people. So that's what I need to see to get it up.
Excellent. Thank you, Adam. And we'll have our next print, please. A picture says 1,000 words. That awkward moment when the mother of the bride would rather be somewhere else. This print scores 74. Tony?
I really wanted more up there. I think there's a story here, and I would love to see some more frames if there was. A little distracting with the umbrella on the left-hand side. Yeah, give me some more.
Thank you, Tony. And we'll have our next print, please. A young family waits for their baby's girl's bittersweet arrival. Okay. Kelly's just stepping off. Leslie, can you jump in, please, for Kelly? Our judges can step off for a variety of reasons, and we respect them for making that decision, and we just get another judge to step in their place for that print. Thank you, judges. This print scores 86, silver with distinction. If I can have a comment, please, from Adam.
Yeah, look, well presented set of images. We always say with the multiple image, just the strongest, the weakest image is what's going to bring it down. And I'm never let down by any of the print quality in any of the images. What stops me from going even further is just wondering, the white squares are kind of what I almost think is the most important part of the image, and maybe I'm being deliberately left out of that, but that's what I'm left curious about. And discussion would be interesting. It's an intriguing image, so I'm glad we got it up there.
And Jacinta, a little tiny addition to that.
Just with, on regards to the white squares, because I was struggling as well, and what I think would have added even more is because obviously we've got a story here of a baby that has passed. To me, you've got a cross in 4. I think having a cross resembling that they've gone, you know, to a better place probably would have just really lifted it rather than that extra square at the bottom.
Thanks for that, Jacinta. And we'll have our next print, please. No caption. Thank you, judges. This print scores 74. With a comment, please, from Tony Holden.
A nicely presented image. I just wanted a story. You go up there, and there's, tell me something, and there's nothing there. But you know, keep it up, but give me more.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. And I will get you to do a quick judges swap. I know I did it intentionally that time. No, I'm joking. It was a beautiful comment. Thank you. And Claire, if I can have you come in, please. And we'll have our next print, please. Contemporary socialising. Thank you, judges. This print scores 75. I'll get Claire, actually, just fresh onto the panel to have a comment, please.
Yeah, I think this is getting so close to going up into a higher, almost award or a higher professional practice. A few things just feel a bit cut out and a bit soft, and so close. Well done.
Thank you. You did have a few nods from your fellow judges with your comment. And we'll have our next print, please. Morning stroll on the dunes in the Sahara. This print scores 81, a silver award. I would love some feedback from Kelly, please, just under that.
Yeah, top image. I would have liked it a bit bigger, actually. And I just watching presentation, matting, print stock, that sort of thing. Like those things are really for the professional print awards super important. So just pay a bit more attention to some of those things as well.
Thank you, Kelly. And if we can have a blank screen, please. That brings us to the end of our documentary category for the 2019 AIPP Queensland Epson Professional Photography Awards, sponsored by Sony. Thank you for our panel of judges who have come and gone and swapped around and performed magnificently. Thank you to Faru, who's sitting next to me, assisting me very capably. And at the back, we've got Meredith, Renee, Afshan and Ralph turning the prints. We will be back. I believe we're having a bit of a break for lunch, and then we'll be back after that. Or not? Yep, just hold on for shortly. Okay, we're going to have a 15-minute break. If you can all be back all fresh and ready to go after 15 minutes, please. See you shortly.